So Fresh 14, it's all about people. And for the next hour or so, we're going to talk about people on the platform. And primarily those come in two different kinds of flavors. One are panelists, and the other are your speakers. And those speakers could be from subject matter experts from within your company. They could be industry experts from outside, or even professional speakers. So we're going to kind of have two different conversations this afternoon. One is focusing on the panel, because as we know, panels still exist in 2025. So they're not going away anytime soon, and I've done some research about that. And some of you love the idea that there are panels, and you put them on your program. And some of you don't like panels, and you don't put them on your program. So if you could, please stand. And for those of you who like panels, no, keep the lights up, please. For those of you who like panels, you stand on this side of the room. For those of you who go, oh, Kristin, I'm not a big fan of panels, you go on this side of the room. Okay, so this is when you get up and you get to move. The cordless phone. Okay, so for those of you who like panels and those of you who don't like panels, fine, no middle ground, no middle ground. If you don't like panels, you go over there. If you like panels, you go over here. So we're going to take 60 seconds, little buzz groups. What do you like about panels? What don't you like about panels? And then if you can kind of come in closer here, we are going to have a dialogue back and forth. 60 seconds. Little buzz groups. Okay, wherever you are is where you are. Pause the conversation. Where's my buddy Steve? Steve's over there. He's on this side. I'm going to be working this side. We're going to be doing a point counterpoint. So the point over here about what you like about panels. What's something that you came up with that you like about panels? Oh, excellent. Mike, say hello. Everybody say hi to Mike. Hi, Mike. What do you like about panels?
It's not prepared. And that's a great thing, that people just need to think and reply to questions they got, and they need to use their brains instead of having a great presentation prepared.
So you like the spontaneity.
Oh, yeah.
Love the spontaneity. Steve.
So that's a good thing, is it, spontaneity? What do we think? Somebody over there.
What is the last spontaneous panel that you saw?
Yeah. Are we allowed to come back?
Oh, so what they're saying is that panels don't get spontaneous.
It was one that was really very well facilitated.
Ah, we had a point over here about facilitation, didn't we? What was somebody saying over here? Yes?
I said that most of the time the moderators are really bad.
Yes.
Oh, so what do we do over here to make sure that we've got good moderators? Good moderators?
We prep them well. We plan a good script with them.
Okay, so we've got good preparation. We have a good process in place that we design. We don't just leave it up to chance. What do you think to that?
Well, Mike just said that it's better that you don't plan, so that they're making the ideas up at the same time. You've got to be consistent with your arguments over here.
So
what do we think?
So what's the difference between planning and the spontaneity?
I think you need to have a very good personality and be very open to whatever comes in that room in terms of energy.
Okay.
And you need to respond to that spontaneously.
So you've been nominated as...
Yes, large meetings have too much one-way communication from the podium to the audience to begin with, and to have a panel is just a congestion on one-way street.
Yeah.
Too many speakers.
Oh, yeah. Now who wants to say?
So it's a cheap technique just to make the presentations look less boring.
Okay?
Oh, bit of variety.
Now, wait a minute. What? We get to rebut that, Steve.
Okay.
Now, who says that panels are just one-way conversations on the stage? Yes.
the best panels don't have any presentations. They get right into the discussion, and it gets really engaging for everyone.
So you're engaging the audience
Yeah.
as well, not just the panelists.
I think the point was, though, the planners think, oh, we've had 4 or 5 presentations now. I'll tell you what, let's break it up. Let's do a panel. So it's just to break up, but there's no significant planning. You had a point.
And the worst panels, opposite to your best panels, are the panels where too many people sit alongside each other, agreeing on one subject, or not bringing any new visions to one subject. That is what panels do.
Oh, so panels aren't bringing new vision. What do you think
Correct.
to that?
You plan for spontaneity. Who's the king of spontaneity? He's dead now, Steve Jobs. Did he plan his spontaneous
Like Matt.
presentations? You do
Yes.
the same with the panel.
Okay, but I think their point is that it's too much of the sameness, people doing the dashboard.
Were we going to make another point as well?
It's like bringing a lot of great singers into a room and ask them to sing individually. Where's the choir?
Yeah. Good. Collaboration at the panel level.
So
Good.
where's the choir? Where do we get the diversity? Where do we get that interesting melange, that blend?
Melange.
Yes.
I think one requirement with the panel discussion is that the audience needs to be engaged. And it is possible to do that.
There's a funny thing
Yeah.
happening.
Hang on. We need some more
Well,
ideas from
there's
you
a funny
guys.
thing happening. We are giving arguments why a panel does not work. That side is telling us what should be changed in order to make a panel work.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
Not
very
telling us why
interesting.
they work. Good point.
And
Well made.
Thank you for summarizing that, and thank you for being part of a point-counterpoint.
Well done.
Well done.
We won, though.
Yo, we won that. You know, it was interesting. What do you think was the numbers on each side? Numbers on each side. Was it about equal, balanced? People who are supportive, people who are not effective. So just to let you know, I'm a little passionate about panels being effective. I was sitting at a very high-level manufacturing CEO summit with a bunch of mid-market CEOs at the Ford Motor Company facility with Alan Mulally, who's the CEO of Ford. And it started with one of the worst panel discussions I have ever seen in my life. And I sat there, where you are, thinking, this could have been so much better. And so I just kind of decided to go search on Google and say, if I wanted to be smart about how to be a good panel moderator, what would I do? I'd go to Google. How to moderate a panel. And there's a couple of great blog posts, but there really isn't a whole lot of information out there for people. And so being a good engineer, I decided I wanted data. Like, so what is the current state so that I can project what the future might be? And so I did a little survey, put it out there into the universe, and I am hitting the wrong button. And I did a little panel survey, which is how Martin found me, so thank you very much, Martin. He said, that's pretty exciting stuff. Would you be willing to debut your findings? So this is a first ever. You are the first people to see this information. And what I basically asked was, how effective are panels? And the definition of a panel is it typically consists of a moderator with a bunch of people on the stage, conveying some information about a topic. And so that comes in various different flavors. 539 people took the survey. There were all kinds of flavors of respondents because I'm a professional speaker, so most of those people who responded within my world are speakers or moderators themselves, but there was a fair number of people who are participants, attendees. There are thought leaders, experts, C-suites, executives. So we had a nice cross-section. They were primarily from North America, but here's the caveat. About 150 people into it, when Martin asked me if I could come present in Copenhagen, I went, ew, I didn't ask where you live. So I realized that I needed to add that question. So 134 people are missing in action because I really don't know where their email address is from. They're highly educated people, primarily with college degrees, master's degrees. They're very savvy about meetings. They attend a lot of meetings in one given year. And the interesting part is I asked the respondents, of the meetings that you have attended in the last year, what's the percentage that had panels as a format? And almost everybody has been experienced in a panel somewhere in a meeting. In fact, we just had, in essence, a panel right before we broke for lunch. So we qualify as that statistic. So panels are prevalent. Panels are not going away. Even in 2025, our forecast in the appreciative inquiry, panels were still there. So that's kind of interesting. So the first question I asked was, how effective is the panel format? Is it very poor to great? And here we have a standard distribution curve. Now here's the scary part. If you take the very poor, poor, and okay, 63% of all panels are merely okay. As meeting architects, that would scare me. Or I could say, that could be an opportunity. So is the glass half full? Is the glass half empty? The power is actually in your hands as meeting architects and designers. The second question I asked was, how effective is the panel in the last meeting that you attended, the last panel that you saw? And again, it was a standard distribution curve. So then the corollary to that was, well, how effective was the moderator? Now, maybe that was a leading question. I don't know. This is not a statistically valid survey. I didn't go through rigorous standards. So this isn't anything that you can quote with statistic validity. So I did ask, because I am a moderator, so was the moderator effective? Because I kind of think if the moderator is effective, you can have really not great panelists, but if a moderator does a great job, the panelists can look really smart. If you have really smart panelists and a bad moderator, the panelists still might not look all that great and might not deliver the value to the audience. So I asked this question, was the moderator effective? Another standard distribution curve. So then I asked the next question. So what drives you crazy? 72%, and this was a check as many as you like, and there was an other category. So this was an easy check. 72% of the respondents said it's moderator issues. 66 said out of control panelists. 54% there was an issue with the topic itself. 52% said poor panelist selection. 27% said it was audio-visual support. You think you could influence that ratio as meeting architects? I think so. Now here's what was really interesting, is that I put in a little comment section, is there an other? Because I wanted to make this easy. That was the primary driver of the survey. 6% actually wrote in specifically the lack of engagement or the lack of focus on the audience, that it was all about them and not about you. 6% of the responses. That's, I think, pretty significant. So then I asked, what's your biggest pet peeve? What drives you crazy? So I'm going to give you the top 10. First thing that drives them crazy, this is a word cloud, so it's a lot of data that I tried to crunch into something that would be meaningful for you to digest. The first one is an ineffective moderator. The moderator just didn't have control, didn't command, wasn't able to intervene necessary, not strong enough to move people on. Number 2, as far as I know, the pontiff is the only person who should be pontificating. Your panelists should not be, but also your moderator should not be. Probably about a third of these comments were not just about the panelists, it was about the moderator pontificating. Number 3 is that both the moderator, mostly the moderator, but the panelists as well, were not prepared, not ready. You know, you just show up. How hard can a panel be? Number 4, out of control panelists. It's almost like you think you need to have a referee there saying, stop, go, you talk. Out of control panelists. Number 5, ego and self-promotion, that it was all about them and making them feel like they were important. Number 6, no audience engagement. 7, they were off topic and off point. This is me. I was in the UK actually on a panel, and it got so bad, and I'm a facilitator, it's just in my DNA, I could not help myself. I said, excuse me, the promise in the marketing materials was that we were supposed to be talking about the future of professional speaking. Can we get back to that? The whole room burst out in applause because we weren't talking about that. It was a good old boys conversation there. Number 8, that it wasn't a conversation, that it was more about PowerPoint presentations and what I call the hot potato. And the hot potato is I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to ask the same question to every panelist. So it's a hot potato being handed among all the panelists. The other one is the ping-pong approach, which is I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to ask you a different question, and then I'm going to ask you a question, and I never really inspire that conversation. It's more of a ping-pong match. 8, no conversation. Number 9, poor time management. You didn't leave enough time for Q&A. You started late, you stopped late. You weren't paying attention to the clock. And lastly, that there were just too many panelists. I think this is pretty significant information. Now, for some of you who just go, you know, I can't move the needle. I know we need to have panels because my boss or my client or the meeting organizer said, you know, we need to have a panel. And you as meeting architects, you now have information that you can come back and say, if you want to have a panel, let's do it right. Because the perception out there is that panels are the lazy format. And we know that there are a lot of moving parts to panels. It should not be a lazy format. Panels are what people do when they don't know what else to do. Panels are when they need to give somebody visibility in the organization, either somebody high in the food chain, maybe one of the sponsors, maybe somebody who's done a lot of service for the organization, they need some visibility. Or maybe it's a training ground in that we need to give this person some opportunities to get some training in public speaking. It's a sloppy format. And when you do it right, you can be a big fan of panels. I was talking to a fair number of you over the last couple of days, and I can't tell you how many times I heard, well, you know, I'm just not a big fan of panels. Fair enough. I'm not a big fan of panels either, but I love the format when done right. So if you opt to have a panel, and it is a choice that you make as meeting architects, when you opt to have a panel, that you make good choices, and that you make good, intentional choices about your topic. Don't be lazy about your topic first and foremost. Pick a topic that you know with confidence is of interest to your audience, not necessarily of interest to you, and not necessarily of interest to your panelists. But what's the topic, the promise that you're putting out there to your participants? Then select 3 to 4, no more than 4, what I call deep panelists. Deep as in diverse, and diverse means not only your gender and background and all that typical diverse stuff, which if you look at a lot of panels, they're still primarily one flavor. So make sure that you've got the diversity of representation, but as well as diverse points of view. Nothing's more boring than everybody nodding their head. So make sure that there's some spice, some conflict, some different points of view. Make sure that they're experienced, that they have the practice, the ability to talk about their experiences. Make sure that they're eloquent, that they can speak. Either see them live or maybe see a videotape so that you know that they're eloquent. And lastly, that they're willing to do the work, that they're going to be prepared. It's a short talk. It's a short message, so they can't give their PowerPoint presentation. So what's their takeaway that they want people to walk away with? They should do their homework. I also recommend that you select a skilled facilitator to moderate. So maybe that might be helpful language for you. You're not selecting a moderator. You're selecting a skilled facilitator to moderate. Just because they have a good name within the organization does not mean that they can moderate. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but if you know that people don't have the skills, either give them some training or maybe they might not be the best fit. Make it a conversation. Set it up as a conversation, not a whole lot of introductions and fluff and, just immediately get into it. And then no more presentations. I thought this was interesting. I did a little research. So this is the little known factoid that you can take back. A guy named Harry Overstreet back in 1932, he's actually the guy who finally put this type of format in play. And he wrote an article in the October 1934 issue of the Trained Nurse and Hospital Review. Who knew? And it was called On the Panel. And he said that no one, under any circumstances, is to rise and make a speech. To do so, he indicates, will be the one unforgivable offense. Let's get back to our roots. Let's spice it up. A lot of people are referring to talk show formats because those are panels. This is one that we did at the National Speakers Association. We did Real Time with Scott McCain. In the USA, that would be Real Time with Michael Lear, I think is his name. And so this was a takeoff. And so it was using the same kind of format. So there's a way that you can make it trendy, you can make it spicy, you can use technology. Use those tools at your disposal and engage and involve the audience. And then finally, take that information and repurpose the content. I love the fact that we have a whole social media staff over there who is taking all of our stuff that we're doing here at Fresh 14 and repurposing that content. And so the content has a life that goes beyond just that panel. And here's the scary point, is that it used to be years ago you could do a panel, and if it didn't go so well, no harm, no foul. Not a big deal. Because, well, how bad could it be? It now lives forever. These videos, the tweets, the social media, it lives forever. So think beyond the event. This statement was actually in the survey, and I thought it was a great summary, is that panels can be great if done properly, and horrid when done poorly. So my request to you is that you make good choices. When you do a panel, make good choices about who you select as your topic, your moderator, and your panelists. Thank you.